Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Leslie. This is Phat Cat Flossing, my channel about cross stitch. And today is Wednesday. I think it's January 10th, 2024. And today we're going to talk about all the finishes I had in 2023. And I think I had a total of 30 cross stitch finishes. So, I did a FlossTube yesterday, and thank you for everybody who came by and visited with me on that. So today we're going to talk about what I got finished. And I have to tell you, I was lazy. I have given away a lot of the patterns that I did these finishes from. Pardon me. And the ones that I do have, I didn't dig through and pull them out. So you'll just have to take my word for it that I had the pattern. The patterns were shown previously on FlossTubes over the course of 2023 as I got these finishes individually. But let's talk. There's 30. I'm going to get started because it'll take me a while. I have 4 finishes that are not physically in my possession anymore, so I'm going to have to show you pictures of them on my iPad. Oh, poop. This is Rejoice Evermore from Brenda Gervais, and I did this. My son got married last year. Thank you, God. That's a big blessing. I love his wife, Claudia. I did this as a wedding sampler for them. I personalized it with their names down there at the bottom. I changed, Claudia's favorite color is pink, a girl after my own heart. And I personalized the colors in this. It was done 1/2 on, let's see if I wrote it down. 40 count, picture this plus fresco. And these were all miscellaneous silk flosses from my stash. And I did convert them to be a little bit more pink than what the original model was done in, just to suit her. But that was, I finished this, I think March 20th, and they got married on the 23rd last year. So I snuck it in under the wire. I stitched like it was my job for 4 weeks, because I think you told me on like February 18th or 19th, something like that. And whoops, I got to keep that open to show you the next ones. And anyway, I stitched sometimes 8 hours a day to get that sucker done. And I did. I made it. I finished it the day before I was flying out to Florida and got it pinned and laced. I didn't have a chance to get it framed. And I flew economy because, you know, I'm cheap and I'm broke. But the laced up piece went in my luggage where a framed piece would not have fit. So worked out fine. Hopefully they've gotten it framed since then. The next thing that I no longer have in my possession, this is Yellow Polka Dot Bikweenie from Plum Street Samplers. This one was 1/2 on 40 count Zweigart Mocha with just miscellaneous cotton flosses, most of which were probably color and cotton. And I finished this. Go away. I finished this as a stand-up. Tammy's favorite color is kind of a teal blue. She likes Kelly green, and that fabric has the teal blue, the Kelly green, and the red and pink that match the colors in the piece. I did not use the call for. These are miscellaneous cottons from my stash. Oh, not going to turn. This is Friends Are Flowers. This was in, I believe, the spring issue of Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine from Lucy Beam. Again, I used none of the call for. The linen is, I think, a 32 count Weeks Dye Works red pear, I believe. Yep, that's right. And again, I used Charlotte's favorite color is purple, so I changed the colors to reflect more purple in there than what the original had. And I also finished it as a stand-up and sent that off to her. And then my last FFO, because I did not finish much. I mean, I had finishes. I had 30 total of 30 finishes in 2023, 23, but I did not FFO. I did not finally finish very many things. But the last of those that I did finish This is from Summer House Stitchworks, Fragments in Time, number 20, Fragments in Time 2022, number 2 from Summer House Stitchworks. And I finished this as a little Christmas ornament. I added, because 2023 was their first Christmas married, stitch that and put it on the back, and then made just a little ornament pillow finish with some gold braid around it. And y'all, I'm terrible. I glue that stuff on. I am capable of, and have done before, where you whip stitch, like with invisible thread, on. Life's too short. I glue it. Aleene's Tacky Glue is a wonderful thing. But those were my 4 FFOs for 2023. Okay, so I can put this sucker away and we can get on with the rest of the program here. Stay. Not going to stay. I have such a mess. I started 2023 with a total of 40 whips. Of those 40 whips, I think I finished 17. And then I started 20 new things and finished 12 of those. So I had a total of 30. I may be off on which ones I had how many of. But it was a total of 30 finishes. And the first thing I finished in January of 2023 was a shepherd song from Plum Street Samplers. I love this. It's so pretty, y'all. It's so pretty. And I do have goals. It's important to have goals. Boy, I need to have a big old fold. These have been ironed and put away in my project roll. But my project roll is overcrowded. I actually bought some fabric Monday, I think, to make myself another project roll. Vanna Pfeiffer has a wonderful tutorial on how to do that. I recommend you go look at that. Anyway, this is a shepherd song from Plum Street Samplers. I don't remember how old this one is. I started this for Mania 2022. And I did not have a very big start of it on it. I think I had the house maybe outlined and maybe one sheep. I didn't have much. And then in 2022, I retore my rotator cuff and had to have surgery, and I did not stitch for 5.5 months. But when I was recovered enough to stitch at least for a little while, this was the first thing I picked up. And while I am not generally a monogamous stitcher, I did stitch straight through on this until it was done because I love it. It's so pretty, y'all. It's so pretty. Here's my obligatory FlossTube pose. I always get one that looks like I'm picking my nose or something, but we're going to try. Anyway, that was my first finish last year, and I love it, and I do plan to get this framed. I'm hoping I have something in my framing stash that I can use to get that framed. If not, I need to go haunt the antique stores till I find something. And where I'm going to put all these, I've got no clue. We're going to try draping them over my other monitor here. I'm sorry. I usually film kind of the other way around with like this in the background. But again, my ginormous puppy, 100 pounds at 10 months old, is asleep back there. I'd have to move the 100-pound dog to pull out the ironing board to put it over there to film on. And it was more trouble than it was worth. So we're doing it this way. Hopefully it works. My next finish, I believe this was also this may have been a Mania 2022 start also. And I finished this last year. This is also an older pattern. I think it's called A Stitcher's Heart from Little House Needleworks. I can't see what y'all are seeing, so. And because I'm filming this funky direction, my ring light, I'm using my overhead task light, which is an odd light, but it doesn't work as well as a ring light, so shadows may be kind of funky. Anyway, A Stitcher's Heart from Little House Needleworks. This is 1/2 on 40 count My Little Dove from Extra Designs. with miscellaneous cotton flosses from my stash. Similar to the call for. I made the birds blue. The birds are not blue in the original design, but the colors are in the spirit of the original design, although I did not use the call for. I pulled from my stash. I'm just waiting for the crash. Are you waiting? You should be. My next finish, I love Annie B's folk art. I don't think she's put out a design yet that I did not really like. And I had started this. This may also have been a mania start. I don't know. I did have sense enough to at least start some smaller things. They weren't all ginormous. Several of them were, but not all of them. This is Love Always. And again, I'm sorry, I can't see what you're seeing. Love Always from Annie B's Folk Art. And it is stitched 1/2 on, again, this is My Little Dove, I think, yes. My 40 count My Little Dove from XG Designs. And I just picked out miscellaneous silks from my stash. But Love Always from Annie B's Folk Art. And I finished that on January 24th. When I got done with A Shepherd's Song, I'm sorry, see my dog eating board here? Because he'll chew anything. Yes, he will. He is not picky. Anyway, when I got done with A Shepherd's Song, I kind of went through my whips and pulled out stuff that was, I was trying to get my whip count down a little bit. Pulled out things that I felt like I could get done. And so you're going to see I had several finishes towards the beginning of the year because I was within striking distance of a finish. I am not sure if this is out of print or it may have been re-released by McKenna at 1884 Stitchery. But this is the Bitter Flower sampler from Birds of a Feather. And I finished this on, get my notes where I can see them, on February 5th. It is on 36 count soft porcelain from Misty Purcell Luminous Fiber Arts. Again, with miscellaneous silk flosses from my stash. It is almost everything I stitch is 1/2. The green here, all of the greens were from Hand Dyed Fibers by Vicki Clayton. And they were a thinner silk. And I got not great coverage. So I did stitch on the green 2/2 to get the coverage I wanted. But other than that, it's 1/2. Still waiting for the crash. This is another one from Annie B's Folk Art. And again, it was another one that was kind of, you know, I felt like I'd be able to get it finished. And I did. And so on February 14th, Valentine's Day, I finished Garden Faire from Annie B's Folk Art. And this is 1/2 on 36 count. Picture This plus Murmur with miscellaneous cotton flosses. Again, in the spirit of the design, but I just pulled from what I had. I have so many errors in this, y'all. The lady, for some reason, I don't remember if I made the dress either one stitch too wide or one stitch too narrow. But whatever it was the wrong number of stitches to be able to center her head appropriately. So her head and neck are stitched on the off thread so I could get them centered. Does that make sense? Like instead of starting my X's where I normally would, I moved over one thread so I could center it. And I don't think you can tell. I don't think anybody would care. If you do, I don't care. But anyway, there she is. Garden Faire from Annie B's Folk Art. And I think I'm probably going to shortly finish this into a stand-up. I think it would be very cute to put out for spring. Love that. Love it, love it. Got a B-scap. I'm in. So in. This next one I won as, I think it was the 1,000 subscriber giveaway from Erin at 2 Martini Stitcher. And she sent me the pattern and the call for linen, which is 32 count platinum Zweigart, and all the call for flosses. And it is charted to stay here, stitch or die. And while I think the pattern is super, super cute, the stitch or die thing didn't appeal to me, because while I love stitching and I would be very sad if I could not stitch, ask me how that 5.5 months when I didn't stitch went last year, or 22. But not stitch or die. Life's a gift. I wouldn't squander it on being willing to die if I couldn't stitch. So I thought, for me, stitch and be kind was better. So that's what I had this finished, except for those words, for well over a year. But inspiration finally struck, and I just stitched the words in and got a finish on this on February 15th. I did make one other change, in that I made the cat into a pointed kitty, a Burman, since I breed Burman kitties. I think it's super cute, and I think that one will probably, it may be a stand-up, it may be a pillow, I'm not sure. It needs, or I might even frame it if I've got a little frame that would fit that, because it needs to live in here in my craft room. And then that was all the low-hanging fruit. It got harder from there on out. And right after I finished that is when my son announced that he was getting married, and I shifted into Uber, get the sampler done for the wedding mode. So then I didn't have any finishes again until I finished Rejoice Evermore on March 20th. And then on April 6th, I finished This Is the Day from Plum Street Samplers. I love this so much. I also plan to get this one framed very shortly. It is stitched 1/2 on 40 count vintage country mocha with most of the call for flosses. Now, I'm not a big call for girl, simply because I own a metric crap ton of floss and I need to use it. So typically I'll switch out for stuff I have, you know, in the spirit often of the design, but I want to use what I have because I've got a lot. And Paulette was great on this. She used about half Fancy Floss and half DMC. So it was easy to pull from my set of DMC. And I think it is so adorable. I love it. I love it so much. And again, 1/2 vintage country mocha, most of the call for. I think vintage country mocha gets a bad rap. When I first started stitching on 40 count, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, I don't remember exactly. My first 40 count was on vintage country mocha, and that convinced me that I could do it. Vintage country mocha is not a hand dyed, it is a printed, and it's printed on one side and the other side is solid. I find it very easy to stitch on. I've heard some people say they think it's flimsy. I don't think it's any flimsier than many other linens. I really, really like it. And it is, compared to many, many hand-dyed linens, quite cost effective. So if you haven't tried vintage country mocha, I would recommend that you do that. This next one was a long time coming. And I think 2019, but I'm iffy on that. I didn't pull out my book and look at when I started stuff. Sorry, y'all. I'm just not good at keeping track. I started for Emily C's birthday sal goat load from Plum Street Samplers. And then over the next couple of years, I did henpeck and sheep heap. And last year, I decided that this had been hanging out for long enough. So I pulled this out, and on February 14th, I finished Cow Pile. And on April 21st, I finished Snort Stack. So I stitched them all together in a row. I have a number, well, not a number. I have three whole things. My farm animals collection is on my kitchen wall, which consists of only 3 things, but I do plan to add to it. And when I can get this framed, that's where that's going. I think it's super cute. I love the bright colors in it. It is stitched 1/2 on 36 count honey from Hand Dyed Happiness, and I do not believe she is any longer dyeing fabric, which is a shame because this fabric was a joy to stitch on. And I really have regrets about not placing it better because, y'all, I wasted so much fabric. It was a shame. I could have easily moved it way up and had enough down here to stitch some smalls on, but you know, live and learn. But anyway, I'm super happy with it. I love it very much. These are all, I don't know if I said, Plum Street samplers. This is Snort Stack, Cowpile, Goat Load, Henpeck, and She Peep. And they're so cute. And because this one had been hanging out for a while, I'm very glad to have it done. And I counted that as 2 finishes, 1 for each, because they are separate patterns. This was living in the same bag. I did not, this was not one of my favorites. I mean, the pattern is adorable, but it's a tight 40 count. This is 40 count. Picture this plus feldspar. The pattern is Tired Trio. Again, it's the animal stacks from Paulette at Plum Street Samplers. And this is done with miscellaneous silks from my stash. And this 40 count is very tight with silk. Very tight. And then I got to the faces are charted 1/1. I forget. I think it's this bottom one. I did the face as called for, 1/1, full cross on 40 count with silk. I hated life. So when I started the next one, I don't remember which one it is. One of them, I got halfway through his face with the full cross and said, screw it. Well, that's not exactly what I said, but in the G-rated version, I said, screw it. And switched to a tent stitch. And that was much easier. So I completed the other face tent stitch. It looks fine. If you get out your magnifying glass and look at it, well, I guess you could tell, but I don't care. I just don't care. So anyway, oh, this is Tired Trio is the name of it, if I didn't say that. And 1/2, mostly 1/2, on 40 count feldspar from Picture This Plus. And then I had a break. Well, not that long. One day, I don't know what I was doing, but I wanted to start something real bad. Real bad. I wanted a new start. And I'd been pretty good about not starting a whole lot of new things. That didn't last real long. But I had the Bluework Pears pattern from Annie B's Folk Art. And there are three pair patterns in that. This is the one called The Birds, I believe. And this was a staff, a start and finish in one day. This is stitched 1/2 on, it's a 40 count mystery. I don't know what the linen is. It was something I had in my stash. I'd lost the tag. I don't know. It's a 40 count mystery linen. But the silk floss is, this is a Floramel floss, vintage teal. And I'm sorry, I can't see what's in the viewfinder when I put this in front of my fat face. So, excuse my looking around. This one had also been hanging out for quite a while. And I don't know why, because I love it. I think it was because I knew I was going to rechart the saying and the cartouche, and I just didn't want to. This is As Flowers Blossom. Is that what it is? When Flowers Blossom from Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. And it is 1/2 on, I think 36. Yeah, 36 count color and cotton driftwood with miscellaneous silk flosses from Stash. And again, they are in the spirit of what the call for colors are, but they're all just miscellaneous silks from my stash. I wasn't crazy about the quote up here, and I changed that to something I like better. I have always liked Emily Dickinson's poetry. It's very, I was going to say poetic, but that's not a particularly good description of a poem. They're very straightforward, and I like the meter or the rhythm of it. And this says, "The flower must not blame the bee that seeketh his felicity." So I like that better than the original quote, so I just charted that out and added that in that cartouche. And I think this is really pretty. I do plan to frame this one. I'm going to have to move a lot of stuff to get into the craft room closet where all my frames are, but at some point I'll get that done. I am determined to finally finish more than just 4 things in 2024. I'd like to do the 24 finishes in 24, but I'm not sure that's a realistic and achievable goal. You know, I worked as a nurse for 25 years before I retired. And when you're in nursing school, you have to do what are called care plans, which are a bunch of hockey because you're going to follow doctor's orders and take care of the patient. But when you do care plans, your goals have to be reasonable and achievable. That verbiage has stuck with me. This is Over the Hill Part 1 from SamSarah Designs. And this is done with most of the call for. This is an 18 count mystery linen from my stash. Something from 20 years ago or more. Probably 30 years ago. I don't know what it is. It's a pretty blue. I did have to change the color of this bird because the blue that was called for was too close to the blue of the linen. But I did substitute. This is done with Karen water lilies. Watercolors. The cotton. The 3-stranded. It's like a pearl cotton. But it is strandable. And I stitched 1 strand of the watercolors over 2 on this 18 count linen, which gave great coverage. It was very tight. I don't like the sensation of pulling through and it's got that where it feels like it's scraping through the linen fibers. I don't like that. This was very tight. I did not enjoy stitching out on it, but I think it came out really, really cute. This will probably be framed and go in my kitten room because it's got a bee on it. I love it. It's very, very cute. And I'm sorry, that one is out of print. You might be able to find it on the secondary market. SamSarah does have stuff out there on the secondary market. They're not like scarce as hen teeth, but you would have to do some looking. And then this piece was a gift to me from Shelly, Key-X Stitch, or I think her new YouTube, she had to retitle it, is It's Only Stitching. And she sent me, y'all know I love me some shepherd's bush. And this one I have to hold back so you can see the whole thing. This is the Gratitude Sampler from Shepherd's Bush. And this was my 2023 birthday start. I had a lot to be grateful for. And thank you again, Shelly, for sharing this with me. It is stitched with the kitted linen, which I believe is a 32 count French vanilla. If not, it's in that vein. That's what they kit a lot of their kits with. So that's a good bet, even if it's not exactly right. And then the kitted silk floss. And it's all stitched as called for with all the specialty stitches. And I think it is really, really pretty. I would like to get this one framed and on my wall too. I love me some shepherd's bush. I enjoy overall specialty stitches. And y'all, don't be intimidated by specialty, quote, specialty stitches, unquote. If you can do cross stitch, you can do specialty stitches. They are not necessarily difficult. They are just following a different you know, methodology for doing the stitches. Shepherd's Bush kits, you don't have to get one this big. They have a lot of small kits that have some specialty stitches in them, and they have great instructions on how to do them. Like I said, I enjoy most of them. However, this band and this band, I think, yep, are what are called Swedish weaving. That's one I don't like. You can't fudge it. You have to be very exact with it. Exact is not my strong suit, but they look beautiful. I'm very happy with this finish. The Gratitude Sampler from Shepherd's Bush. This is, if you call Shepherd's Bush, you actually call the store, you can still get this. And that holds true for pretty much any of their kits. They may not have them kitted up, but they will kit them for you. I don't know of any of them that you could not get. There may be some, but I don't know of them. And I stitched monogamously, who am I, on that until I finished it on, I think, did I write it down? I finished it on August 12th. So it took me a month and 4 days stitching monogamously to finish that one. And I love that one. My next finish was Tutor Bee. This is from the Blue Flower. And I think she is so pretty, y'all. It is stitched, again, in the spirit of the call for, but these are, again, miscellaneous silks from my stash. I did not use the call for flosses, but I stayed in the spirit of them. And this is 36 count mystery linen. I've got a lot of that. I've got stuff in my stash. I've got no clue because, again, from the 80s through the 90s, I've got lots of stuff. And whatever this was, I did not have the tag for it. Although since it's the 36 count, I probably bought this more recently. Whatever it was, I did not know. So it is a 36 count mystery linen. Went over to with miscellaneous silks to make this pretty Tutor Bee from the Blue Flower. I think we're over halfway there. It was Labor Day weekend, I went to Tulsa to meet Chris Fernandez, and she is a new breeder in Florida. Her cattery name is Rivendell, and she was getting a kitty from me to start her breeding program with. And because we were in, and Chris is a cross stitcher. Hi, Chris. I hope you're doing great. I hope Fergie's doing great and being sweet for you. Anyway, we went to the Silver Needle because when one is in Tulsa, one does not miss that opportunity. And this was a Plum Street pattern that I had never seen before. I believe the copyright on this one, I don't have it handy, but it was something like, I want to say 2013. It may not be exactly right, but it is an older Plum Street pattern called Love Thy Neighbor. And this one is done 1/2 on 40 count Fox and Rabbit Oyster Mushroom with miscellaneous silks from my stash. I again stayed in the general spirit of the call for flosses, but I brightened it up a little bit. I like bright, happy colors. I'm not a somber girl. I can be a bitch on wheels, but I'm not really somber. Anyway, Love Thy Neighbor from Plum Street Samplers. I love this one. Love it. And while I have shifted over the last several years into doing more 40 count, as I have decided I'm going to use my silk flosses, I may shift back a little bit more to 36 count because some silks can be, or some 40 counts are very tight with silk flosses. Like that was pretty tight with that silk. So I may be doing a little bit more 36 count than I have recently. My next finish was, I had a sampler finish in Sampler September. For some reason this year, I could not get enthusiastic about stitching samplers during Sampler September. I'm sorry, sweetheart. You can't lay right there. Sorry, the dog's under my feet. Anyway, but I did get a sampler finish in Sampler September. This is the Robin sampler from Heart in Hand. He was also a Mania 2022 start, I think. And he is stitched somewhere here. This, oh, I didn't realize I'd used a Lakeside for this. This is 40 count vintage Bittersweet from Lakeside Linens. I love Lakeside. I'm so sad. I just can't hardly get it anymore. And I think I used, if I had the call for, I used it. Where I did not have, I just substituted. Now, this was called for to be stitched on, I believe, either a 28 or 32. I didn't have, well, I chose not to do it on those counts. I have some of those linens, but I really don't use them because I want to stitch with one thread. So this is a little wool felt medallion here, and she had provided these perfectly cut circles. So my circles are not perfectly round because I had to recut them smaller to make it fit in the allotted space, but it's still super cute and I like it a lot. And that is the Robin sampler from Heart in Hand. It also came with a little leaf button there. I had another one of those I want to start and finish day things. And I pulled out another Annie Beez pattern. This one is from her Redwork pairs. There are, again, 3 pairs in there. This one is called Swirly Paar. Yeah, y'all. My pair, well, he's more or less pear-shaped. He's going to be a challenge to finish. And I've never finished a dimensional pair before. I think I'll start with the blue one, because at least it's the correct shape. This one, he's a little bulgy on this side. He ought to be more like that. But I've got a mistake there, and it is what it is. I'm just going to deal with it. This one is 1/2. This is 40 count XQ Mocha Beige with 1 strand of, this is a Carrie's Creation silk floss called Garnet, and unfortunately she's no longer dying. The end is in sight, believe it or not. This next pattern is also unfortunately out of print. Niecy Lynn was kind enough, she did a thing, I don't know that you'd call it a round robin, but anyway, she stitched this a couple years ago, and then she sent the pattern to me, and Niecy, you need to send me the address of the person I need to send it on to. But whoever she tells me to send that to will be the recipient of this pattern, because the pattern belongs to her, not to me. This is the Bittersweet season from Heartstrings, and again, unfortunately, it is out of print. It is so cute. So cute. Love that tall pumpkin. It is stitched with all of the call for, with the exception of, I did convert the Krynic to Petite Treasure Braid, and there was a block down here at the bottom, and I just left the block off. It was going to be tall enough as is. So that's the Bittersweet season from Heartstrings. And he is stitched, he called for beads, and it was called to be on 28 or 32 count. I stitched it on 40 count. Picture this plush fresco. So he does not have any beads. I just added some additional Petite Treasure Braid. You've already heard my speech about Krynic, I think. Or if you haven't, let me just boil it down to, I hate it. Okay. My heater has kicked on. It's warm in here. I happened to across this one on Instagram, and I could not go to her Etsy store and buy it fast enough. This is the Black Cat Inn from Kira Lynn's Needleworks. and I will try to link her down below. She has just the cutest patterns. She has a number of the different N patterns. I loved this cat and the pumpkins. I just thought it was adorable. So I purchased this and started it. I think I started it on a Saturday morning and finished it on, like, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday. Super, super cute. He is stitched. This is a 32 count mystery linen with miscellaneous silks. And as you can see, or maybe hopefully can see, even on a 32 count, I will stitch 1/2. Now, admittedly, silk floss gives better coverage than cotton floss does because as a whole, it is thicker. But I just think that is adorable. So cute. So cute. I have bought several more of her patterns. Now I just need to actually make time to stitch them. Said all of us about everything we do. And I got in the fall mode of stitching around that time. This was a start, again, I believe Mania 2022. Maybe 2021. Somewhere around there. This is Hickory Picky from Brenda Gervais. And I went way outside the box on this one. This is not the call for linen. This is 36 or 40. 36 count. Picture this plus Heartland. That's not right. I don't think it's Heartland. It's something else that starts with an H. I don't remember. If you need to know, let me know. And I used none of the call for. Again, I don't even know that I stayed. Well, with the chicken and the pumpkins in the basket here, I stayed in the spirit of what was called for. Her dress on the pattern is green, but since I was using the green linen, I switched the dress to kind of a lavender periwinkly kind of color. I used, it's an older thread company. I don't know that they're still in production. Threadworks. I think they used to be Needle Necessities and now they're Threadworks, or they used to be Threadworks and now they're Needle Necessities. One of the two. I'm not sure they're still in production, but she stitched 1/2 with several of those and then miscellaneous stuff from my stash. I did find that on the miscellaneous little chickens here, my white was not showing up 1/2, and I changed that. This is a sulky floss, the white chickens, so they would show up better. So there she is. And I finished her on, I think, October 18th. Whoops. I'm going to have such a mess to clean up. And then I pulled out another fall pattern. This one I altered significantly. I stayed pretty much in the spirit of the called for, with the exception of I changed the blue because as I was digging through my flosses, this is a Victorian motto blue. I don't remember the name of it. The call for blue was a paler, dustier blue, and I really liked this blue, so I used it, and I think it goes well. It stands up to the oranges, which are stronger colors. This is Queen of Harvest from Brenda Gervais. And I altered this one significantly. This should have come out to about here, but I wanted her square because I thought it would be easier to find a frame to fit her that way. And frankly, I was tired and I wanted to be done. So there were a number of other acorns in this area, and I just deleted that and moved this line of pumpkins over and made her more square instead of rectangular. And she is stitched 1/2 on XU Little Bunny with miscellaneous cotton flosses. And again, other than the dress, which I changed to a darker blue, she is mostly in the spirit of the call for flosses. Steve and his duodenal ulcer ended up, not that we got any answers on what the problem was, ended up in the ER in late October, I believe. last week of October. And because I knew, I was an ER nurse for a long time, I knew that we'd be sitting in the ER. I took this little Shepherd's Bush kit with me. This is Busy Bee from Shepherd's Bush. And while he was being evaluated, I, yes, started and finished this. Because it's an ER. He was urgent, not emergent. So, you know, it is what it is. But I started and finished this while he sat in the ER. This is stitched with all the kitted. Again, it's a 32 count, probably French vanilla. If not French vanilla, something in that mode, with the kitted silk floss. Very cute little sheep. He will be a little pin pillow if I ever get my poop scraped together in one neat little pile. What are the odds on that? I started this, I don't know, last spring sometime. April or May, probably. This is Strawberry Harvest from Stitches Through the Years. And I think it is so cute. I liked it so much, I bought it twice and gave it away now. But this is, again, Strawberry Harvest from Stitches Through the Years. And I've been watching a lot of, I think her name is Felicia at Mouse Potato Designs. And she does a lot of French knots. God love her. She can have those French knots. I put this, you can see the hoop marks on this. I generally stitch in hand for everything. But I could not do the 11 billion French knots that I put in that sheep in hand. I had to put it in a hoop. I don't miss stitching in a hoop, by the way. But it is so cute. I love it. He will eventually get framed and go on my wall in the kitchen with all my other sheepies too. And that one is stitched 1/2 on 40 count needle and flax Steinbeck. And then I finally got took us in gear and got this finished. These patterns were a gift from Kathy West several years ago. It was right after Steve was pretty sick and was in the hospital for a while, and then he was pretty sick. Anyway, I was being pitiful and mentioned that I really wanted these patterns, and Kathy, God love her, sent them to me. And I came home from him being in the hospital one day, and there they were in my mailbox. And Kathy, you just, if you're watching this, you don't know what that meant to me. I needed faith then, and this was the perfect thing. And what it says is, faith is the bird that feels the light when dawn is still dark. I love this. I finished this on December 30th. It is 1/2 on 36 count. Picture this, no, not Picture This Plus. Color and Cotton Petunia. These are miscellaneous cotton flosses from my stash. I think most of them are probably Color and Cotton flosses. Although I think there was some Ship's Manor in there too. But none of the call for. I kind of stayed in the spirit, but I also just looked at it and went, okay, I'm going to use this. But I'm super happy with this. I'm thrilled to have it finished, and I hope to get that framed soon. Oh, that is the flock from SamSarah. It is a series of 12 patterns. And then my very last finish, I just basically decided it was time to get this puppy done. This is Father Yule from Shepherd's Bush. I believe I started this probably in 2018, 19, somewhere around there. He's been hanging out for a while. He is stitched with some of the call for and some of whatever I happen to pull out of stash. I did use the Whisper on the sheep and his beard. I need to get out my little brush and fuzz them up. It called for some Krynic. I had some Krynic. I hate Krynic. And the sparkly green and magenta color are the call for Krynic. I think. They're a Krynic. They were whatever I had. The moon is a sulky metallic. And I tell you, as much as I hate stitching with metallic flosses, that sulky metallic is pretty good. I liked it. But he was my last 2023 finish. I finished him on New Year's Eve, December 31st, and I am very glad to have him done. So that's it. Those are my 30 finishes from 2023. I was pretty happy with that. That was more finishes than I thought I had. I have one other finish. He's not a cross stitch finish, but he's so cute. It's a little needle felted wool sheep. He's just adorable. I love sheep. But anyway, he's number 31. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Oh, Lord, this is 50 minutes long. It is what it is, I guess. That's what it took. Thanks for hanging out with me. I sure do appreciate it. If you have questions about anything, please let me know. I doubt... What's today? Wednesday? I may get the drop down done this afternoon. What time is it? 3:47? Probably not. It takes at least a 50-minute video will take an hour and a half or more to upload. I live in bum, you know what. So anyway, it's going to take a while. I'll get it done as soon as I can get it done. I appreciate y'all visiting with me. I hope you saw something that you enjoyed. Happy 2024 and God bless y'all, and I'll talk to you soon. Oh, I do plan to do a whip parade with the plethora of whips I still have left, even after 20 or 30 finishes. Maybe I'll get that done tomorrow. We'll see. All right, y'all. Take care. God bless.